Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create your own reoccurring availability. This is important for all Unison staff as it allows our scheduling and team leaders to know when you are available for work as a casual or additional work as a permanent part-time. So we're going to start in the Schedulo mobile app. You're all probably familiar with this screen, the agenda view. And what we're going to do is we're going to move to the availability tab. The Availability tab is a new feature within Schedulo Plus, and it allows us as users to manage all of the availability outside of our leave requests. So from here, we can check our calendar to see where we're already available. We can manage any requests that we may have that are pending, and we can create our own reoccurring availabilities, which is what we're going to do now. To do this, simply click on the plus at the top right of your screen, and then select reoccurring availability. From here, we can name our pattern. I'll be naming mine my regular availability. And we can select our start date. This can be the day that you start with Unison or any day within a pay cycle that you'd like the pattern to start from. We're then given the option to select an end date. Now we can select an end date if you're envisioning your availability to change on a set date or a set year. By selecting the year icon at the top, we can select years in the future. However, we can just leave that blank, which means that that availability will continue until it's either cancelled, an end date is set, or it's deleted. We can then start selecting the days that we are available. If we select the checkbox next to the day, it will allow us to be available all day within this reoccurring pattern for that chosen day. We're going to do that with Monday and Tuesday. However, on Wednesday, we only have set availabilities. So to facilitate this, we're going to select set times. Once we've selected set times, we can set individual times during that day that we are available for work. We do this by selecting the start time. Now we can either use the dial to change the time. Make sure we're selecting AM and PM correctly. Or we can select the small icon at the bottom left to manually input our time with a keypad. We want a start time and an end time, ensuring we're selecting AM or PM. And then we're only available during that time on that selected day. However, if we have another time, let's say we have a 1 hour appointment in the middle of the day, we can then add another time. So from here, we're going to be available from 1 p.m. until 5 p.m. If we need to, we can always add another time, or we can delete a time that we've already added by simply clicking the delete button under the additional time. We'll add a few more days to this availability pattern, and when we're ready, we simply hit save at the top right of the screen. After a few seconds, we can see our saved availability pattern. But let's say that we're only available to work weekends one Saturday every fortnight. So let's create another availability pattern just for that. This is a useful feature because it not only works for weekends, but any day in which you may only be available once a fortnight or once a month outside of the usual weekly availability. So we start by creating an availability pattern like we did last time. However, this time I'm going to name it my weekend availability as it only represents the weekends that I'm available. Once that's done, we select the same start date as the other reoccurring pattern, no end date, and we select Saturday all day. Once that's selected, we want to hit the repeats every pick list. And from here, we want to select 2 weeks because it's saying that we are only available on Saturday once every 2 weeks. We can, of course, select individual times. If we open up the Saturday, uncheck this box, and select those times individually, but in this instance, we'll keep it as all day. Once that's done, we simply hit save. We can now see that we have 2 separate availability patterns, one that is my regular availability and one that is my weekend availability. At any point, we can simply open an availability that we've already created, and we can edit that availability, just in case the availability changes. Or we can delete the availability. The other benefit of the Availability Manager console is that you can select one-off availabilities or unavailabilities. So if you are usually available on a day, but you've become unavailable, you can create a one-off availability by hitting the plus, then one-off unavailability, and selecting the unavailability reason. For casuals, this will always be unavailable. And for permanent staff, you can select your leave type from here, but please be aware that it will not let you know if you are exceeding your leave balance. And then you just follow the steps to create that same availability. As those one-off availabilities do require approval, if you move to the Requests tab, you'll see that you have a pending request. Now, it may take a few seconds to sync, but once it has, you'll have a single request for each one-off availability. For our permanent staff, creating a leave request, whether it be annual, personal, well-being leave, etc., is exactly the same. Once it's created, it will be in the pending state, waiting for that approval. In order to check the status of your pending request, simply drag down on the screen and it will resync and update you if that request has been approved. Both permanents and casuals can also create one-off availabilities to overrule days that you would normally not be available. To do this, simply click the plus button and select Add One-Off Availability. Once you've selected this, you can either select a day, all day, or if you uncheck all day, you can select a specific time. In this example, we're going to select the Sunday that would normally not be available and say that we're available all day. Once this goes through and is approved by your team leader or manager, you will then be available for additional work on that day outside of your reoccurring availability pattern. As a reminder, you will not have availability to pick up additional shifts as a permanent or any shifts as a casual if you do not have a reoccurring availability in place. A few key points to remember from using this availability manager is that if you create your availability from here as a permanent, it will not warn you if you exceed your leave balance, and any one-off requests will require approval. However, your reoccurring availability does not require approval. Thanks for your time today, and remember, if you have any further questions, please reach out to your team leader or manager first, or any technical issues, please reach out to USS.